Forget what you think you know about pre-colonial Africa. This isn't about scattered tribes or tiny villages. This is the story of a vast empire, fortified by one of the largest man-made structures on Earth. A city ruled by legendary sky kings, crafted by master artists. A civilization whose glory was stolen, shattered, and scattered across the world. So how could a kingdom this mighty simply vanish? For most of us, the history books left this part of the world in darkness. But hidden in the forests of what is now Nigeria was the Kingdom of Benin, an empire so advanced its art would silence Europe, and its capital rivaled the greatest cities of the Renaissance. This is the real story. Today, we peel back the centuries and uncover the truth about this extraordinary civilization and the tragedy that brought it to its knees. The story of Benin begins deep within the emerald rainforests of West Africa, among the Edo people. Its earliest origins lie in the mist of myth and memory, with rulers called the Ogiso, kings from the sky. They governed Igodomigodo, the kingdom's first incarnation, emerging as early as the 11th century. Passed down through the power of oral tradition, their tale weaves legend and truth. When the last Ogiso fell out of favor, the people revolted. Yearning for renewal, they turned to a sacred neighbor, Ife, the spiritual heart of Yoruba land. The king of Ife answered. He sent his son, Prince Oranmiyan, and from Oranmiyan came Uweka the first Oba of Benin around 1200. But the Oba was more than a king. He was the divine thread between the heavens and his people. Judge, ruler, priest, all in one. This was the dawn of a dynasty, a divine monarchy, and from it a golden age would rise. For generations, the Obas expanded their power, but the kingdom ignited into greatness under Oba Iwer the Great, crowned around 1440. A conqueror, a sorcerer, a builder of nations. He didn't just win wars, he reshaped the world. He expanded Benin's borders and rebuilt the capital, renaming it Edo, now Benin City. His masterpiece? The Great Walls of Benin. Not a single wall, but a labyrinthine system of deep moats and towering earth ramparts. Some say the earthworks stretched over 16,000 kilometers, a feat unmatched on the continent. Inside, broad avenues led to 9 fortified gateways, encasing a royal city fit for gods. The Golden Age surged on. Iware's son earned the name the Conqueror for winning over 200 battles. His grandson, Oba Esiji, opened Benin's doors to Europe. When Portuguese explorers arrived around 1485, this wasn't the usual tale of conquest. The Oba met them on his terms. Esiji forged diplomatic and trade alliances with Portugal, sending emissaries to Europe, founding schools to teach Portuguese. Trade flourished, ivory, palm oil, pepper, but always on the Oba's terms, always under his control. Wealth, power, influence, it all grew. So what was Benin City really like? Forget the cliché of a simple village. This was a metropolis, carefully planned and engineered. At its heart stood the royal palace, a sprawling wonder of architecture. A Portuguese captain in the 1600s called it as large as Lisbon. Its walls shimmered with bronze plaques, chronicling the kingdom's story in metal. Society was structured with purpose. At the top, the Oba. Below, chiefs, nobles, warriors, artisans, farmers. And at the bottom, enslaved laborers. But power wasn't unchecked. A system of checks and balances kept corruption in line. Male officials were monitored by female court watchers, who reported only to the king. Benin's guild system was revolutionary. Each craft, ivory carving, weaving, blacksmithing, had its own district. Over 40 elite guilds worked almost exclusively for the Oba, producing the masterpieces that would forever define Benin's identity. Outside the capital, life pulsed in vibrant markets. Cowrie shells passed hands, and the rhythm of life beat to sacred festivals honoring the ancestors and the Oba. But Benin's true legacy, what made it immortal, was its art. the Benin bronzes. Over 3,000 masterpieces of bronze, brass, and ivory, crafted from the 14th century onward. These weren't decorations. They were history, cast in molten metal. Portraits of kings and queens, warriors in full regalia, spiritual scenes and foreign envoys. They told the story of a people, a dynasty, a divine lineage. Created by the Royal Brass Casters Guild, they used a method called lost wax casting. The detail was staggering, so precise it rivaled the art of Europe's Renaissance. When Europeans first laid eyes on them in the 1800s, they refused to believe Africans made them. They invented lies, absurd theories. But the truth was undeniable. The Benin bronzes shattered colonial myths, and still do. But no empire stands forever. By the 18th and 19th centuries, cracks formed. Succession crises weakened the throne. The global shift away from the slave trade struck the economy. And then came the scramble for Africa. The British wanted control. The Oba refused. In 1897, diplomacy turned into disaster. A British mission approached Benin City. The Oba's court, rightly, saw it as a threat. They struck first. Britain retaliated with overwhelming force. The punitive expedition began. 1,200 heavily armed British troops descended. They razed Benin City. They looted its palaces. They burned its temples. Oba Ovonramwen was captured and exiled. After nearly 1,000 years, the Benin Kingdom fell. What followed was cultural plunder on an imperial scale. Thousands of Benin bronzes and ivory treasures were stolen, shipped to London, and auctioned off, scattered across Europe and America. But the soul of Benin never died. In 1914, the monarchy was restored, symbolically. Today, the Oba remains a spiritual and cultural leader, a living link to a mighty past. But the shadow of 1897 still looms. The fight for repatriation has begun. Germany has returned pieces. The Netherlands, in a historic 2025 ceremony, gave back 119 artifacts. As one official put it, these are not just art. They are the spirit and identity of a people. This is the legacy of Benin, an empire of vision, a people of resilience, a culture of unstoppable creativity, and a stolen legacy, finally making its way back home. What part of this story struck you the most? Should stolen artifacts be returned? Let your voice be heard in the comments. If you found this journey through time powerful, like, share, and subscribe, because this is just the beginning of rediscovering the true history of Africa. Thank you for watching.